So today I have Arlene and Louis Byrd with me, and they are the founders of Hiyer, which Hiyer.pro, which turned out I found on LinkedIn as an alternative when global majority uh, creators were being quelched over on LinkedIn last year. And so they started something new and unusual and have had some growing pains and have had some wonderful revelations. And at about the same time as I started the Cove, and I'd had some growing pains and some revelations that are tracking right with you. And so I thought, because One Voice Evolving is raw, real, and relatable, that we wanted to get behind the curtain, behind the professional stuff, behind the website to say, what's it really like to do something nobody's ever seen before? Those are the pinch points.
That's a good question, Kim. I'm gonna pause because I want to know if is that the question or is there more?
Well, I'll tell you, no, of course there's more. There's
Okay.
always more. So let's talk about what all the questions are going to be, because I don't have a list of questions, but I got it all in my brain. I made it to a cookout. So I'm one of your founding members. I loved it, love everything about it. And I ended up leaving LinkedIn before you even had Hiyer off the ground, because they, started doing their AI stuff. And so I waited and waited and waited patiently and couldn't wait, and then came in, and it's like learning a new language, because it
Yeah.
doesn't operate like any other social media, which we all thought we were just going to drop in like you do everywhere.
Yeah.
And you said something. So I made it to my first real cookout. You guys do cookouts every quarter, every couple of months. And I came to a couple of them, and I felt just like I do in a real cookout in real life. I stay in the background and I try not to be intrusive and don't center my white ass. And, that's kind of how I move in the world. And when I finally made it to the cookout, Louis, you said something that grabbed me and made me say, we have to talk about this now. Because you and Arlene were talking about that you couldn't, before this launched, and when you were getting glitchy and you couldn't launch in October like you thought, and the founders were anxious and waiting, and you said, we have to do this perfectly.
Yes.
We cannot fail. We cannot. And I know what that pressure feels like in my body, but I have no idea what it feels like in yours. But I'm 100 podcasts into all kind of conversations in the last 2.5 years. I know about things I didn't know I knew, about code switching, about King's English, about having to never let them see this part of your culture, never let them, don't talk that way. That's what that for my racial equity piece of One Voice Evolving, that the part of I have to be perfect when we're already over freaking qualified to be in the room anyway. That's the part that I think the audience of white folks who don't know what they know, who want to advance racial equity but don't know how, these are the stories they need to hear. These are the things they need to see about why it's not as easy as it used to be. I built a lot of platforms in my white skin over the years, but when I started using the term racial equity, the amount of roadblocks are a fraction of what you get in your daily life just trying to live Black. And I was incensed, and I fought, and I did all the things before I finally said, I'm not going to do this here. I need a platform like Hiyer to be real.
Yeah.
And now I think that's everything I have to say. I would love for you to tell us about you, about why, about how, anything you think they want to know. But my heart cry to you is, wow, you are doing something amazing. And the problem, and I have the same problem in the Cove, is that it doesn't look and feel like anything anybody's ever seen before. And nobody knows how to navigate that. And in today's world, with the shit show that it is out there and in everywhere we go, I don't know that people have the energy. You've got 700 people and only 200 have checked in. It's like, because who's got the extra brain power to consider learning a new language when the default that is so dangerous is so much easier?
Yeah. Well, Arlene, if you don't mind, since I was the one that made that comment,
Yeah, go for
I
it.
like to
Since
take
you
it.
drugged me out of it.
um, Kim, well, one, thank you for having us here. Again, really appreciate it, and my hope is that this is a very open and transparent conversation about some of the challenges and the realities through our experience, right? I always want to create that the make that the caveat that this is our personal experience, and while many may be able to relate, it may not be the truth for everyone. So that being said, when I told Arlene before launch, and I said we cannot afford for this thing to not be perfect. When I told her that, um, I meant that 100% because I know through lived experience that as a person that has been historically excluded, specifically speaking, being black in America, um, that the chances, the grace that we're afforded is few far in between. And any inkling of not perfect or exceptional or um, perceived a standard, it is going to be met with a certain level of scrutiny that other people that are designing and building systems that are challenging status quo or norms, that we won't receive that same level of grace. So that morning, it was actually, I can tell you specifically, it was January 13th because we officially launched January 14th and 2026 to be specific. I remember we were so excited and we were happy, and it was like, I know there was a delay. During that delay, a lot of people didn't know this, but uh, our family had two passings. My grandmother and my aunt passed. In addition to that, we had technical challenges. In addition to that, there was all these other things, and we tried our best to keep the transparency and communication open with the founding community, and I think we did pretty good with that. And but we also felt the pressure of we have to get this thing out because people are waiting on us. That being said, I told Arlene, I said, we have to come out the gate strong. And Kim, on day one, January 14th, when we launched, I promise you, Arlene and I, we went through every scenario. We did as much as we could. The platform worked as we built it. And then we launched and the shit hit the fan. And nothing worked upon deployment the way that it did in our testing environment. And we were so confused. And here's the thing, Kim, whenever someone builds a product, especially a tech product, as you know, when we got on this call, technology, it kind of has its own mind, right? It does what it wants to do, right? No matter how much preparation you have, sometimes things just happen. And we knew this, but what we didn't expect 100% was some of the response that we received. And while I had a kind of like innate feeling and maybe I manifested it, but I knew that when we launched and that first email came in and said, I didn't receive my code, my code's not working. I said, oh shit, it's happening. Right? It's happening. And the problem that we experienced was nothing different than a Mark Zuckerberg or a Jeff Bezos or a Sam Altman or anybody else that has launched a new product to market. It's nothing different. All you got to do is go to a Google search and read about it, and you will see the countless stories of on launch day, deployment day, it is going to be a shit show. And we understand that from building technology and products, but this was different because it was just like, again, another thing is we as Black people struggle to be perceived and treated as, quote unquote, for lack of better expression, normal. Like, we have to either be extremely exceptional, we have to be Barack and Michelle,
Mhm.
or we are in the trenches. And it's kind of like there is no sense of normalcy too often that is projected onto us. And as a result, what tends to happen is, um, as I was saying earlier, any mistake that we make is hyper focused and critical and taken to the umpteenth degree. And so that was a very real thing that I felt personally. And I remember my heart was broken that day, later that afternoon, because Arlene built the back end side of things, and she felt a lot of this stuff fell on her. So when she got emotional and got teary eyed, and she actually cried, it was very difficult to see all this, because I know how much we worked, how much effort and thought and intentionality we put into this product, just for people to, again, come in and say, well, this isn't like LinkedIn. We never said it was going to be LinkedIn. We never said it was going to even be a LinkedIn alternative, honestly, Kim. We actually said this is something different. It is something built for a specific group, for entrepreneurs, for something that doesn't exist the way it does. There is no platform out there, or I can't say no because I don't know all the platforms, but there's not very many platforms that are built that do not take your data and use it for their own. There's not very many platforms that do not have advertising. Arlene and I was just talking about it last night. We pay for Hulu, the lowest tier. And what is it, Arlene? $14, $17 a month or something like
Oh,
that?
it's like 12, I think, 10 to
12,
12
12
dollars.
bucks a month, right? And we still have to have advertisements, even though we're paying for it, right? And there's in terms of social media, that's how they monetize as well as exploit. And we say we're going to do something different. And yes, there's going to be a paid subscription, a membership, there's dues, things of that nature. But we do that because we don't have, and we intentionally didn't build in our system the way that social media and big tech has operated. We're not selling data to third parties. Every platform out there on the market sells your data to third parties, and they make a lot of money. LinkedIn, for example, makes more than $47 billion per year on just advertising. That's not including your $70 you're paying per month. That's just the advertising. And they're taking everything that you put on that platform and selling it. And so we understand that Hiyer is a different language. And I say different because every technology that you get into, those that are truly being disruptive or innovative, they all start different. The like button, right? For example, on Facebook, didn't come out until 2009, right? But now people have adopted it and they say, oh, likes and hearts and emojis. But at that time, it was new. Same thing with the idea of even social media. I'm old enough to remember when a social media manager was what we're calling a prompt engineer now. What is this new job? And now it's like commonplace to have a social media manager. So everything that is new starts with some level of a learning curve. Now, one can argue and say, well, meet people where they're at. Well, I honestly look at it the other way around. I say, these platforms that exist today aren't meeting people where they're at. They're copying what already was successful. That's not innovation. That is them just literally taking, and I can tell you from a design and technical standpoint, most of these platforms are taking a template and they're just plastering their name on it and they're saying, here's our new product, right? And a lot of people have grown habits and a reflex to using the same thing. That doesn't mean that it's new or that it was different. It just means that because we've seen it every single place, we're used to it. And Hiyer is not designed that way. Hiyer is a different language, and I think that for us, it's important to acknowledge the difference, because I'm tying it back to the idea of racial equity. If I walk into a room as a black man, don't just be scared of me because I'm 6'3", almost 6'4", 240 pounds, and I have a big voice when I talk. Don't be afraid of me just because I'm different, you know, accept me for who I am, right? Get to know me and then pass your judgment. That's different. But don't just come out the gate and judge me just because I'm not matching everybody else in the room that's 5'10" and fair skin. So I'm gonna stop there. Arlene, feel free to hop in on this one as well.
I mean, you hit most of the points. I think it's especially working in tech, as a woman and a black woman in tech, we're already far and few between. Um, but then adding the layer, like you said, of just being seen. This is how we envision our world. Everybody who creates a business, as you know, Kim, you have a certain world in your mind, and you want to share that with anyone willing to come, right, to the cookout, right? And you want to share your perspectives, and it's because everybody wants a sense of connection. They want a sense of belonging in some sense. They want to know who else likes, potato salad without raisins, right?
Yep.
It's a bridge. It's a talking point. And so, for our point of view, especially when we launched, yeah, it was different, and it was purposeful for it to be different, because we know as entrepreneurs, and especially as Black entrepreneurs, there's this huge gap of what does not work for us, but that is constantly perpetuated. And there's this staging of pitching. There's this, oh, you have to, in order to be successful, you have to have, venture capitalism backing, right? Or you have to go to California to the big tech hubs, and that's the only way to be successful if you're recognized through, Y Combinator. So we said, we don't fit those modes. We're a husband and wife team, right? We got two littles. They're in elementary school. And we're not traditional techies. So traditionally, my background is in customer service and government experience, with Internal Revenue Service. I've done that for 12 years. And then, I just said, I'm done with this. I've learned enough. Well, I feel like I can get out of it. My values just didn't align anymore. That was in Trump's first term. So that also played a heavy, heavy sway on it. And I really want to do things on my own terms with my own time. And so, that's when crypto was a big deal, and the blockchain and all that was pushing with NFTs, right? And so Lewis, being Lewis, is always at the curb of the next future thing, even 10 years out. I call him a futurist for a reason. All of his ideas, and he has like a little journal, but all of his ideas, whether he can build it or not, he imagines it, and then before you know it, 3 5 years have gone by, and now there's this huge successful corporation doing the exact same thing he put his mind to. So he's like, well, I want to do these things, with tech, or I want to pivot my business. What do you think? You hate your job? You want to join me? And he's like, you already do all this kind of background analytical thinking, with your job. You understand people, you understand, how to kind of bridge those gaps with ideas. And he's like, what do you think? And I said, well, what the hell? Why not? Let's do it. Because if anything, I'm going to trust my husband. You know, he's my best friend. I've known him for so long. We went to high school together. So we're friends first. And I think that's a great foundation for any type of partnership, is to have that trust and reliance in that sense. Keep each other accountable. He'll tell you he almost fired me once,
I did. I did, Kim.
And you almost quit one day, I'll bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But, I need that. I do need somebody to say, hey, you're not pulling your weight. What are you going to do about it? And I think that's something that, honestly, we need more in the world. We need accountability with each other. We need someone to tell us, hey, you're being racist. Do you even realize it? Because I think a lot of times people don't, they're so comfortable in their skin, and they're comfortable in the fact of, well, this is just how I want to do things. But do you ever stop and say, well, why are you doing it this way? Is it what's best for you? Is it what's best for your community? Is it what's best for the work you want to do, you say you want to do? Or is it just because it's easy? Because you don't like friction, right? And with Hire, we did that. We gave people friction. It made people stop and think. It made people say, well, geez, what kind of business am I in, right? What value do I offer? We talk about price transparency. That was a huge thing with people. A lot of people, honestly, I don't think like it. They don't want to show their numbers, but then you have to say, well, why not? Are you not confident in what your pricing is? Are you afraid of the competition? And these are all really important lessons with entrepreneurship. Even saying hello to somebody, I've learned through Hire, it's become really difficult for people. We're so connected with social media, right? You have the world at your fingertips. But it's so simple just to go up to somebody and say hi. But I think a lot of people have really lost that ability because of the algorithms, because the systems are showing you who to friend, right? They're saying, hey, follow this person. You should look at this. You should buy that. And so, do we really own our own choices anymore? And that's really what we want to provide with Hire, but through our lens as Black founders, as people who really care about community and who believe that things don't have to have a status quo, they can be better.
And what I love about Hire as a foundation and just my as an end user experience, it is the humanity. It's like a hybrid of a real life neighborhood
Hmm.
and business people who get it. And the dilemma is that they come in like I did, all masked up, afraid to do it wrong. Even though you say there's no wrong, you can say that all you want.
Yeah.
But when you ask me about how much I charge and what my products are, then I'm trying to figure out, I don't know, should I put on my HR hat or should I put on my professional hat or should I put on my coaching hat, or because I'm carrying too many false equivalencies in my patriarchal lived experience to know how to be safe in this environment, because safety is an issue, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
And so I love what you're doing. And for me, we talked about this a little bit when we broke into small groups after the cookout. It was when I realized most of us in that room were introverts. Maybe all
Yeah.
the extroverts went in another room, but we were introverts. And it was like, this platform is an introvert's dream. It is a dream because I figured out in that small group how I can now show up instead of
Hmm.
sitting in the back waiting to see who's safe, be who I am, and treat it just like I do in real life networking events where I interview people because
Mhm.
that's where I'm comfortable, and I do my time. I spend 30 minutes, three people, three questions, and if I don't have to connect with anybody, then I'm out. I'll try it again another day when I have energy.
I
And
love it.
there is no harm, no foul. I
Hmm.
I love your heart for it. I'm really curious about the intersection between the creative visionary,
Mhm.
Louis, the technical application back end, when those two collide in a launch. And this is for every creator who's going to be watching this podcast, how do you not take that personally when it's your life, your livelihood, your vision, your baby that people are calling ugly
Mhm.
Hmm.
or not even looking at?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's a great question. Well, I'm gonna put on my different hats. I wear a lot of hats. All right. So my business hat says first and foremost is to any product or any business that you start, it is to maintain and create and maintain a boundary and distance between you personally and that thing that you're building, right? And one example of that is to really try your best to own that it is not your baby. My babies are upstairs. They
Hmm.
have real needs and real things. This thing here is an experiment. It's an experiment that I'm putting out in the world to see how, acting like a scientist, to understand here's my hypothesis. I'm going to test these assumptions and we will navigate based off of the data that we receive from that. So if you can structure yourself in business kind of with that mindset, it's it makes it just about a nose hair easier when you get that kind of feedback. Now, I put on my human hat. The human hat says, well, it is personal. And to me, I also believe that business should be personal in the aspect of you don't have to take it personal, but it should be personal in how you approach what you're doing, why you're doing it. Like I said, we were very, 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 Kim, intentional about every single aspect of Hire. I mean, every button from the send being a peace sign to send things instead of an airplane. Or even down to instead of us having words like comment, which every platform says, we say join the discussion, because the intentionality behind that is that in Hire we want people to join a discussion and to lead a thought. We don't just say post, we say lead a thought, because we want you to lead whatever that thought is that you're having that day, and for people to join that discussion, because anyone can comment, but to join a discussion and to lead a thought, well, that causes you to pause just a moment and say, well, let me think about what I'm going to say here, right? So all these things play a role in the personal side. So when we do get feedback that is negative, or we recognize that there's a segment of the audience, our members, our participants, who aren't participating as much or at all, we try really hard not to allow ourselves to get pulled down that side of things, and instead focus on those who are actively participating, those who are showing up every day or once a week, or whatever their cadence is, or those who are coming to the cookout. And we want to really cater towards them. The whole point in business, honestly, especially with products, but really any business, your goal is to uh um find what you can do that is repeatable, and then to really discover those people that support that. And some people call them clients, some call them customers, others will say users. We don't necessarily use the word users because we believe people are more than that. They're participants, right? So our job, and I'll be specifically, my job within our business is to really think through the human experience and what does that look like. And it's going to be uncomfortable, and I acknowledge that and own that. But really it is about having the best intentions in mind, but also having just a enough distance between taking it personal and allowing it to just really lock you in there. I have personal moments. I'm not saying I'm a robot. I do get emotional about some things when people, have certain criticisms. That's just human nature, especially something that you worked on. But I also try to be empathetic and say, well, I understand that it is different to not have an algorithm that tells you who your friend is, or who you should friend, or who you should follow and connect with. Kim, I was king social media. Like back in the day, like I was a huge social media advocate. I was an addict. I really mean that, because it is something that I don't think enough people understand, but many of us are addicts to social media. It is the same exact chemistry in your brain that elicits when you're on social media platforms. And big tech knows this. This is how they monetize it. This is also why I do think that when people come into Hiyer for the first time, at least, it's like a person's that has a substance abuse disorder going cold turkey. And it's like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah, it can be a lot.
It's a lot. So long-winded way of saying, Kim, how do I go about doing it? It really is about trying to create, even if it's artificial, a distance between Louis Byrd, the human, and Louis Byrd, the business owner, and trying to really say, okay, there is distance. Hiyer and Zanago, our parent company that we have, these are not our babies. These are businesses. It is a experiment. It is something that we're putting out there. And If someone calls the baby ugly, that's okay, because somebody else may say the baby's cute. I mean, look at Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's not the most attractive man, but he be pulling all the honeys. I'm just saying. So somebody says he's cute.
Yeah.
So
Somebody
so
agrees.
that was just me putting it out there, saying that's what we try to do. Does it happen every day? No, it doesn't. But it is hard, something that you really worked on if it's not being received. But you also have to go back and work on the business and kind of treat your business more like a car, like you're doing a tune-up. And it's like, the cylinders aren't firing. Okay, let's change the spark plugs a little bit so we can get better efficiency out of it. And that's it.
So language matters. And what you were talking about, and I'm going to address this next question to Arlene, because when you gave we don't use users, you made me aware in that conversation how social media, the way they've all done it, template form, has dehumanized our experience way before they rolled out AI to censor us.
Yeah.
And when so I have history of working with highly functioning addicts and alcoholics. I got the addicted thing immediately, which I have not addressed ever about this thing, but it fits 100% because when they first go into a 12-step meeting or whatever their treatment modality is, it's learning a new language.
Yes.
What do they mean when they say, keep coming back? What is a cookout? What does that compare to? They don't have cookouts anyplace else. How do you do that?
Yeah.
So you had to be intentional, but wow, how do you normalize what has become so abnormal when people don't know how to say hi, even in virtual spaces, but they sure know how to hate?
Yeah.
They do.
Hate's easy.
How do you normalize it? Honestly, I'm the opposite. I've never been a person to overshare. I'm more private. So Lewis Lewis has kind of come to my side of the world. I am on the socials. I'm on Facebook. I think I have an account on Instagram, but I never was deeply ingrained into social media. I actually show up better with conversations like this. I like small groups. I like to have a one-on-one with people, a small kickback, at a friend's house, or even if it's like a family gathering. I'm not the big party goer. I will sit back and observe. And I think through observation, not only do you get to see different people and their habits, their natural state, and you can tell their situational state, where it's like some people may act a little more eccentric, right? Because they know people are watching them. And then some people naturally, like you said for yourself, well, I prefer to ask the questions and listen. Um, I think I can mirror both worlds. Luz always calls me a chameleon, and I used to take offense to that. But now I take that in stride because I can be inserted in different environments with different races, different backgrounds, ethnicities. Um, and to me, I'm just being me. I'm being a person of, I'm genuinely interested. What's your name? How are you? No, really, how are you today? Let's talk about it. Or you don't want to talk about it. I respect that. Um, and he's always like, you know how to make friends with everybody.
Kim, Arlene's like the ambassador of the United Nations. Like seriously, it's like I've never met anybody that has such a diverse friend group, and it's like people gravitate towards her. And it's like, she's my friend, she's my bestie. I'm like, how do you do that? Like,
And I mean, I think it's more so because, like you said, I love the analogy that Hiyer is like a neighborhood. I know for me, I do thrive in community. I can wake up and just be having like, man, I don't want to today. Like, you have those days just like, you got to do the things, right? But you just may not always have the energy. But a lot of times when we have our cookouts or we have our hot seats or whatever our digital gatherings are, those are so energetic to me personally, because it does remind me that there's other people out here that says this sucks, And there's something about that relatability that says, okay, well, if everybody says it, then it's normalized. And then now we can build from that. Now let's share ideas to make it better. So I think for us, that's how we continue to integrate what's tangible. As far as, like I said, what do you enjoy as a person? I really mean that. What is your cadence? Some people come in to Hiyer, 3 days out the week. Some people come in once a week. Some people come every single day. That's the first thing they do. And that's great, because I want people to understand that it is okay to be imperfect. It is okay to show the world that you are actively building something. How cool is that to watch a journey, right? Like us, we're building out loud. That's what I call it, building out loud. And it's something that's great for you guys, right, as the members, to say, all right, damn it, Louis and Arlene are doing it. Let me keep going. Let me try. Let me do something different. And it's good for us because we do get that feedback in real time of, hey, this sucks, right? Or hey, this doesn't work. Or hey, this was a great idea. Thank you so much. This has helped me in so many ways. And to me, that is worth more than the millions of dollars that everybody's striving for, right, to make it. Of course, we need to earn a living, but I really do take pleasure in knowing that something that I had hands on building or even sharing of my ideas has really made a difference in somebody's day all around the world. That to me is super, super special. And I don't think a lot of people get to own that part of themselves of a purpose. Everybody searches for their purpose, but do you really get to sit in that? Do you get to explore that? Even if it's just for a micro moment, that is something I think is missing from our world. And that's why you have very transactional people. I was reading an article the other day from Klarna, the payment processor. Their CMO had to do a mass layoff of employees. And instead of him calling a town hall meeting to talk to the employees about, hey, this is some new changes, this is how we're going to roll you guys out, or this is some other price stock options or whatever, he created an AI replica of himself, and he put that as a link for his employees so he called it whine and complain. He said that. And I just couldn't believe it. I said, this is where we are today, where our chief marketing officers, our C-suite of these major companies are out loud saying, I don't want to hear your troubles. I don't care that you're going to be laid off. To me, that's whining, whatever. And it's like, when did we have this shift from being humans, right, to I'm just better than you because I hold a title? I call them, it's just a title. That's you today, but what about tomorrow? You know? And I think that's where we are as people, is everything's just becoming transactional. Everybody's just moving. We're just moving.
Well, yeah. And even when they're using AI to look transparent, which
Yeah.
makes me crazy because I'm on Substack. I read a lot, and I can spot that stuff a mile away. It's like, oh, that phrase did not exist 3 weeks ago, and now it's across the
Mm-hmm.
board. Everybody's trying to sell something to somebody based on this arc, right?
Yeah.
What
Mm-hmm.
for you both, you are riding the fine line between meaning and monetization.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And every woman in creative space I've ever worked with leans in toward meaning and defers the monetization, because sometimes we don't have any choice, or because we all know we make less than men, or less than this, or less than that, or because we have believed we are not worth as much, whatever your marginalization is, and therefore we don't deserve to make what the white men in the C-suite are making, or or what the one who's been. I am sitting here with 35 years of experience, a master's degree, blah 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 blah, and my next podcast this week is with a woman who is an astrophysicist,
Mm-hmm.
whose husband who's trained this man who took her job. They are now married and have 2 children, but she's saying, what does patriarchy cost me? You tell me.
Mm.
When she went back after baby number 2 to go get a position back in aerospace, They told her, flat told her, come back when you're 40 and are done having kids.
Wow.
STFU. Yeah. Now, the only difference between the people who are saying that now and the people who wouldn't dare say that 5 years ago is that 5 years ago it would have cost them to be that bold.
That's right.
And bodacious.
Right.
Yeah.
And today,
it's encouraged.
That gets monetization. What meaning? It's all about the TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Where is the humanity? How do we reclaim that? How does these breakthroughs, these breakdowns, just like what happens in our tech, I always call it the big breakdown before the big breakthrough. When stuff falls apart on me technologically right before an important meeting, I go, oh, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
The universe is really going out of its way to stop it. Yeah. In our society, we're in a breakdown. I'm trusting the breakthrough because I'm trusting people like you and Louis and Arlene to keep it real and hold the vision long enough to come out the other side, even through the messy middle. But boy, you're living in the messy middle on all fronts.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's great. Reason I say that's great is because from my lived experience, depending on who you ask, a little bit of my background, I Midwesterner here in the United States, grew up predominantly in the Black community, my working class family. I was a first generation college grad. Here's what I look at is that I think what we're experiencing right now, because I want to answer your question about the meaning versus monetization. I think what we're experiencing though is more and more people are seeing what a segment of this population has always experienced. And they're starting to experience it more and more now. And I say a segment because there's always been people who have been more privileged than others. Regardless of what's going on, even if we were to look at the transatlantic slave trade, or that part of American history specifically, you always had those who were the illegitimate children of the master and they ended up in the big house versus those who worked in the field. So one group had a privilege over another group. So if we look at this historically and throughout time, that what we're experiencing right now, one, I truly do believe is a direct result of leadership. And I say that because the reality is, if we really take a glance and we take a step back and we look at things, I don't want to say that a country is a company. It's not. It shouldn't be that. But if we were to kind of like pair them together, our CEO and chairman, the one that we have right now, is telling the rest of the company it's okay to be a dick, like literally dictator, but be a dick to other people, right? And to treat people with nothing but disrespect and only care about self. So what has happened in 15 months is a expanded, almost like I'm thinking about my kids here, Super Saiyan power up charge version of what has already existed. It's just that now no one cares. So to hear the story of the young lady who says that just 5 years ago that when and dared happened, right? Well, now it is normalized and that is okay. But to me, the challenge is when people still operate and work at that company, right? So if people are still participating in the day-to-day function of this society and they're opting in to do that, then we do have to kind of look back and say, well, what role am I playing that perpetuates this thing? Am I making excuses for uh um allowing myself to be subjected to this thing? And that's a huge premise of why we even started our own company, why we even built a product like Hiyer, or even our previous product Kataba, where we really focused on trying to address the needs of those who have been historically excluded, because too often we just do not have a safe space. We don't have a cookout where I can be myself and say the thing. That's why, Kim, I was excited to hear about the Cove, because I think it is important for people to create the space that they believe that they deserve and share that with other people. Instead of us just allowing ourselves to just go along with something because it is the thing that exists, right? That being said, the meaning versus the monetization, that is always a challenge for socially impacted types of organizations or people that just kind of have a bigger heart on things. I do believe that there is a space, because we do have to be very clear about it, that unfortunately we do live in a capitalist society. And I don't know how your utility bills are, Kim, out where you're at, but here in Missouri, they suck. Like Arlene's got her fan on because I refuse to turn on the air yet. I'm like,
Yeah,
no, I'm not ready.
Let's do
I'm
it.
not ready to turn it on yet. But the reality is, I think part of being a business owner is figuring out how to work on the business, and part of working on the business is figuring out, how do I make it sustainable? Making money is easy. If we had to be honest, it's really easy to make money, but that is not the same as making profits, because
mm-hmm.
profits is what allows a business to scale and to in time become sustainable. Otherwise, you're just out here hustling, or you're just doing things. So if you're operating a business and you're not really putting the monetization aspect as a pillar within whatever you're trying to achieve, even if you have all the well-meaning intent, it is going to fail, because the one resource that you do need to help you, you're not prioritizing it, right? So I'm not saying you need to put money first. I do not believe that. In fact, I have a theory, and Arlene will tell you this. I always say that um, I'm a horrible business person, because I do care about what I'm doing and care about the people that I am looking to serve and help with whatever that I'm offering. So that makes me a very, very bad business person. But I hold on to the aspect of that we can do important, socially responsible, impactful work with meaning, and still monetize it to where you can afford the kind of lifestyle that you want. So that's what kind of keeps me grounded in, we can do both. You can have meaning and still make a scalable business, but at the same time you have to make a choice
Mm-hmm.
on, well, what am I going to prioritize? And if I do make gajillions of money, I do disagree with my wife on one thing. I want millions of dollars, not for me, but because it will allow me to do more work, more things to help uplift my community. That's the only, in my opinion, that's the only real value of money, is in our current system, it allows you to do certain things that those who don't have money can't do. So I see in our United States political climate right now, I see what Trump and people that support him, that are working within his administration, I see what they're doing. And I told Arlene, I said, Donald Trump might be the greatest entrepreneur ever. Right. And she was like, what? And I'm like, hear me out. It's not that I agree with anything that he does. I don't. But if we were to just take a step back objectively and look at entrepreneurship and look at what he's done and is doing, he's disrupted a market, an established market, which is the political, not even domestically, but globally. When was the last time you seen other world leaders on X talking about what they're about to do? That used to be quiet, right? But now people do that. He leverages his network and he exploits them, but he leverages his resources and he gets people behind it. Every person that's building a business, that is part of the goal, is look at my network, who has what, how can I leverage that to help me achieve this goal, right? He has a cult-like following. We're trying to build that in Hiyer. I'm pretty sure, Kim, you're trying to create something like that for the Cove. And when we look at the word cult, it has such a bad, connotation to it. But look at the subword, back to words have meaning. It is really just a almost religious type of following that someone has towards this thing. He has that within MAGA. That is something that every business strives for. So I personally can separate him and what he's doing, his meaning. I do not agree with his meaning 100%. But what I can recognize is, as we like to say, game recognize game. And if I had the opportunity to have access and resources, I will probably be doing the same, but the opposite. The opposite being, instead of tearing people down, what can I do to lift people up, right? What can I do to create more climate sustainable AI solutions, right? If I had the access to those funds. So long-winded way of saying that meaning piece for us is extremely important. And monetization only helps you like 10x whatever your meaning is. That's
And
it.
as long as you don't check your meaning at the door to get the money.
Yes.
And that's the integrity piece.
The integrity is necessary, or like I said, you become transactional, and you're
Yeah.
just at the end of the day, again, what are you doing it for? If there's no legacy to be left, why are we doing it? Our children and grandchildren and great great grandchildren, the way we're going in this world, there's not going to be anything left.
I love where this conversation has gone. And now I have to say something political, which is really cracks me up, because I was not political before the 2024 election, but it grabbed me because of integrity and joy and all the things. And when the personal becomes political, then my one voice evolving has to speak up. So Louis, you said a country shouldn't be a company, but when it is, this guy's, this leader is doing these things.
Yes.
And it's going to take me right back. And I'm just going to say something that on my podcast they've never heard me say, but this is round
Come on,
two.
Kim, this is your podcast.
So if he was a CEO of any organization I have consulted for or participated in, there's a thing called vote of no confidence that would get his ass out within days of this crap, even thinking about starting. We don't have the right privilege or infrastructure to do that in this country. Go back some years to President Clinton, when he took an intern and was sexually inappropriate with an intern. And what blew my mind in that election cycle, if that had happened, I'm an HR background. If that had happened to any one of us in any place who did something inappropriate between those two levels of power, he would have been out before morning. You see it even today. Oh, they kissed on the Jumbotron, and she's out and he's, MIA.
He's got book deals, right?
There are things that cannot stand, that should not stand, that in our political arena in this country have been Epstein files, glossed over, whatever. No, it is not party specific. It's not male, female specific. It's not any of the specifics. It's just fucking wrong. But the 1%ers are making all these wannabe 1%ers take money over meaning. Social media becomes a street fight and nobody's safe.
Yes.
That's my considered opinion. I would like your...
I love that. I'm hopping in on this one real quick. I agree. I'll one up you, Kim. Imagine if Obama did the same thing.
That's all we
Honest,
got. That's all we got to say. I mean, seriously, do you believe, Kim, that
honestly.
Obama, on his day one of office, could sit there with a pen and say, "Nope, we're getting rid of DEI. Nope, we're firing all of these black top officers with all the experience in the Department of Defense. We're getting rid of education. We're going to go ahead and start gerrymandering." Do you think that man would be president?
You know, that election cycle, that cracks me up because I in that election cycle, I wasn't looking at the presidential candidate for either one. I was looking at the second in command because I figured one of them was going to die and the other one was going to get assassinated, being Obama. And
Yeah.
it was like, who do you want to be second in command? Not Sarah Palin.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely. And do you think that some of this racist KKK crap that is now taken front and center, it's only 30%, but it's 30%. Do you think that that is the backlash because how dare you have a black president in my
Yes.
country?
I'll say it. I think it is. And I think it's honestly, this has been in the works. Project 2025 has been in the works since the Civil Rights Act was signed, honestly. And this is, Trump was their golden boy to say, if we're going to do this, he has to win this time. Otherwise, it will never happen, because we did have a black president and we had a black vice president, right? And Biden. And in the gains that black people, even through all of the oppression, slavery, all of the systematic infrastructure that keeps us at the bottom as black African Americans, even through all of that, we will still making gains. And unfortunately, that 30%, that small 30%, just can't have that. And you do see self-destruction, because that's what we're going through right now, is self-destruction. Even to your own self, you're going to lose your farm, you're going to lose your family, you're losing your environment to the data centers and all the gerrymandering, all this crap. You're losing it just to say, because I don't like those people. And as long as those people are losing, then I'm okay with it. But at what point do we all wake up and say, "Is this how black people feel?" And it's funny, but this is what I think the whole world arguably is experiencing, with the loss of housing, the loss of education, the loss of taxation with no representation. A lot of people are feeling that now. Healthcare, women's rights, right? What you're feeling is the same oppression that black people have been feeling before the Civil Rights Act and now after, because they're repealing all what little progress we have made. And Donald Trump, I'll say it, came on your podcast, to me, Donald Trump is the epitome of white privilege.
I agree.
He is the full snowball. He's a white man. Doesn't matter what he say or do, he gets passes. People make excuses for it. They say, "Oh, that's not what he meant," right? They get this ideology that it just, there's no wrong he can do, but for if he wasn't a white man. I don't think any other race will get away with what he's doing right now.
Oh my God, no! You can't be a mayor in New York and do the right thing and not get attacked.
Yeah, and I was just gonna pick up on that. I think we should be more specific. A white, rich man, like that makes a difference as well. His celebrity makes a difference. There's all these things around him that insulates him, and it gets back to the point of this topic. I think, Kim, even our first question, one of our earlier questions, around the grace that is afforded or awarded to other people, and that some people may not have that same level of grace. So the reason why I always go back to the Obama thing is I do look at that lens through, could Obama have done the same thing? When Obama wore a tan suit, that was a huge issue, and it was a very nice, well-tailored tan suit, and that almost got him impeached for wearing a tan suit. right? When Michelle Obama wore her hair in braids, kind of like how Arlene has her hairs in braids, something that is very common for African people, indigenous people across various cultures, including even white people, wore braids.
Mm-hmm.
But that was looked at as unprofessional, as she shouldn't be doing that. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, in the context of this whole conversation, that is the challenge, that so many people who have been historically excluded, especially those who are from black backgrounds, African backgrounds from across the world, experience. There was a man in Ireland recently, Arlene told me, that just a few days ago experienced, and he was murdered by police, no different than George Floyd. 6 years later, same
Yeah.
thing
Same thing.
in Ireland, right? So I look at all these things, and it does get back to me, in the mindset that I do believe that one of the opportunities. Now, the funny thing about the word opportunity is it doesn't guarantee that you will win. It just means you had a chance.
Yes.
One of the opportunities that being in business affords you is you have the opportunity to do something about it. You have an opportunity to say,
Agreed.
I will not participate in this system because this system no longer serves me, right? So as a result of that, I will start something different. I will do something in my likeness. And honestly, Kim, what Arlene and I, what we're doing, what you're doing, what many of the members of Hiyer, what we're all doing is really no different than those who were doing it before us, in the sense to where we decided we want to create something that we see as either a opportunity or something better, or that you have the skills to do something. And we were the brave ones to say, I'm going to do it. I am going to act on it. I try not to say the crazy ones because that's not, very empathetic. But then two, it does require a level of bravery to step out on your own and say, I'm going to do this despite what's against me. And that is really the experience that many people feel, is definitely an experience that many Black people can relate to. I'm going to step into this role even though everything is against me, but I'm going to do my damnness and take it one step at a time. So yeah, I didn't mean to get overly political on one voice, but that being said,
No, this is the perfect launch for the new round 2, because I knew we were going there. I just didn't know it was going to be right out of the chute. What the heck?
So sorry. I didn't want to. I don't want to offend any of my Republican buddies and stuff. And like I said, are people on the other side. I'm not. I'm like you, Kim. I'm not super political, but I recently heard on the Clock It podcast, I think Simone, right, Arlene, was saying that you might say that you're not political, but you are definitely in politics, because everything that we deal with is political, right? Everything there is a political nature to behind everything. So even us in business, decisions that are being made in Washington, there's so many Hiyer members that lost opportunities because they cut DEI, and companies said we're going to cut it as well, and they lost their contracts.
Yes.
That's political. That has nothing to do with business. That was a political move, and as a result, real people were impacted. So when folks opt out of the political situation, well, you're kind of missing out on the opportunity to understand what's coming down the pipeline, or to address it and be prepared for it. So that's all I would say on the political side, because I don't want MAGA coming after me. No, I
So
don't
we
mind. They
are
can
going
come
to
after
wrap
me.
up. I do want our viewers to know, and it'll be in the notes of the show.
Mm-hmm.
How do they find you? What's the best entry point? We love your hearts. I appreciate you so much today for sharing with us and showing up in light of the snafus. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So
Well,
tell us, where are you? How do we get there?
Arlene, you want to go first?
Sure. If you are interested in joining Hire, a platform built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs, and it's an intentional growth engine. It is meant to help you in your journey, and however you find in that place. Go to hire.pro, Hiyer.pro. You can also get in contact with us at Zanago, that's zanago.xyz, and there's a contact us page. And you can also learn about other products that we have up our sleeves, if you're interested in future iterates that are coming out.
Yeah. And I'll add to that. I Kim and audience, I'm really about that life. Like, I abandoned every social media platform that is popular. And again, this is from a guy that Arlene would tell you, like, hey, true story. Social media was my side piece. And Arlene used to be like, you need to get off of Twitter,
Yeah,
spend time with me. And I'm like,
yeah.
leave me alone, girl. I got 140 characters I gotta put out here. Like, I'm serious. I was very deeply into social media. But something happened, and honestly, LinkedIn kind of kicked it off for me, really. With all the suppression that was taking place, and I it just wasn't the same. And then when I seen all these tech people really starting to kiss the ring of certain political figures that I just do not agree with, I said, you know what? I'm not going to participate here. So these days, while I have a LinkedIn profile, I do not check it. Or if I do, it's like once a quarter. And all the other social media platforms, I deleted every account. So really, you want to get in contact with me, you can find my writings on Medium or the Zanago website. And that's
Mhm.
kind of it.
Or you can come to a cookout on
Or you
High
can come to a cookout and
because he's
hire.
got great music and good jokes.
Yep.
Yes.
Connect with us directly.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. We really
Thank you, Kim.
appreciate you reaching out and having us, as well as being a founding member in Hire. It really does mean a lot when folks decide to support you and get behind you and definitely with their hard-earned dollars. So we
That's
really
right.
do appreciate you, Kim, and everyone else that's participating.